Hey ZenFam, so you guys went and asked for me to do a wee review and thoughts and impressions and stuff of Play Expo Glasgow 2023. And, of course, I will oblige such requests because I'm your reporter guy. But seriously, good wee convention. Obviously, not as feature filled as previous years, but still good considering that when they were planning it, probably there was still a lot more restrictions about how much space you need to have and so on and so forth. So it was not as chocked full of systems and as arcade units and as stalls to buy stuff from. But given the times we live in, the space available, and the possibility that less people might turn up because people might still be a wee bit afraid, I think they actually pulled off quite a good convention. However, it does have to be said that as far as the arcade units go, I think there was not enough, obviously, but I think there's too many repeats from previous years. I think they need to mix the selection up a little bit, and I've got some ideas about that coming. Same for the console section, need to mix that up a little bit as well, and obviously more. As for the shopping, actually, I think they got that pretty much perfect. Because sometimes in some conventions you go to, you feel awfully squished in. It's like you're just met with walls of consumerism and you're trying to squish past people. And especially as a content creator, you're trying to take a good bit of video, and you can't because you're in this tiny little space with bodies going back and forth, and it's really hard to get a nice shot. And if it's hard to get a nice shot, then it's probably really hard for people walking past your stall to have a quick glance and therefore come in and have a look. But if they're able to walk past and still glance and see enough to draw them in to have a look, then I think this is only a good thing if you're a seller. But I could be wrong about that. However, does have to be fair to say that the people who are at the table selling the goods, they probably have to pay a fee to have the table. So obviously that's more money for the convention to get sellers to come along and sell their goods. So it's a bit of a balancing act. There was no VR section, although admittedly there was a Virtual Boy, which was great. I've never got to play a Virtual Boy before, so that's another one ticked off the list. But there was no VR section, which I think was a shame. But where they normally have the VR, they had a board game section. Now, don't get me wrong, I like a board game. I mean, I've played my fair share of like Ticket to Ride and Carcassonne and so on and so forth. I've played a lot of board games. One of my best friends and my wife both are board game nuts, and they even have a board gaming group that they go to on a weekly basis. So, trust me, there's plenty of board game in my life. It's not my main focus, but I do like it. But I didn't think it really belonged. I think it was a bit of a stretch. They obviously could have a table selling some board game and stuff, as long as it's themed within video games themselves. I think having board games, video games, and pinball. I mean, I've always had my doubts about the pinball. It's a nice addition, but I think there's too many machines that take up too much space. I'd like to see more actual gaming. But that's just me personally. I mean, some people really, really dig the pinball, and it's a nice diversion. The Halo ring, now that was a really clever inclusion. I really thought they were onto something with that. So the Halo ring, good. Things that need to come back though. Bring back the little stages. They had little stages in past years gone by, where like one was for a cosplay competition, one was for for different gaming tournaments throughout the day, like winner stays on, time attacks, stuff like that. And there was another one set up where there was various talks going on from like YouTube content creation, game devs, other such things. And it was a good little place to have like cosplay and stuff. And cosplay, I always think, is a great addition to almost any kind of geek-led convention. So there was a couple of cosplayers knocking about, but they didn't really have a stage, they never really have a sense of having something there to be a cosplayer for, apart from just the joy of it. So yeah, definitely bring back the cosplay element to Play Expo. As far as things I would change or add, as I said, definitely a few more consoles. Trying to have a few more up-to-date ones, have some really obscure ones, you know. Some of them were a bit too obscure. I mean, like, does anybody really harken after the BBC Acorn Electron? I don't think so. Yeah. But then again, I suppose it's all about what they can actually get their hands on. As far as the arcade section is concerned, though, I think take away some of the old standing units, the things that everybody's played, you know, and bring in some new stuff, you know, like Tekken 3, for instance, Ridge Racer. Bring in like a more up one of the like slightly newer Mortal Kombat. Had the original Mortal Kombat, put in like Mortal Kombat 3 because that one really sings. Definitely get in like the Star Wars Pod Racer thing, the big one, you know, the big one that is actually shaped like a pod racer. Bring in Prop Cycle. Bring it, but if we're in Ridge Racer, may as well go the whole hog and get the Ridge Racer sit-in unit. Top Skater, that would be fantastic. Alpine Racer, Wave Race, Prop Cycle, Time Crisis, a proper Time Crisis unit. Now they had Virtual Cop 3, but I always thought Virtual Cop 3 was a bit muddy in its textures and a little bit blurry in its motion. But Time Crisis, mwah, that's always been a really, really good game. Definitely bring back the VR section. Have a smattering of different VRs. Definitely get in PSVR 2. You know, have some, you know, some Oculus going on and all the rest of it. And maybe even, you know, have a little bit of a deal with Apple and maybe get in one of those, you know, those Apple Vision Pro dealies at the time. Because they should be out by next year. I mean, they're coming out later this year, so it'd be a good way for people to actually get their hand on one of those and find out what they're like for gaming. Because apparently, you know, as we saw from the video, you can hook a PlayStation up to it. So, you know, that should definitely prove to be an interesting addition. So, all in all, really positive experience. I think give the guys some like something more to do though. I think there needs to be a few more activities, you know. It's great having the Minecraft zone and the indie zone. Definitely make a bit more track at the indie zone. Minecraft zone, it seemed to be other stuff as well. It didn't seem to be purely Minecraft. If you're going to have a zone called the Minecraft zone, it needs to be the Minecraft zone, not the Minecraft and Counter-Strike and Halo zone. You know, that's just another gaming area. You're going to have your zones, have them as zones. You might want to fiddle a little bit about with the arrangement of stuff, you know. But I mean, it's a good arrangement. Let's see. As a side of anything else, I think you've pretty much got it nailed. Everything seems to be good. Everything seems to be working. There seem to be a lot of repairs going on the day for some of the older arcade machines, but that's because they're old arcade machines. They are more prone to failure because of their decrepitness. So yeah, on the whole though, I would definitely, you know, give all the thumbs up to this particular event, and I look forward to future years of it getting bigger and better. Maybe even at some point, you know, getting big enough to move away from the Brayhead Arena and perhaps even to the SECC, you know, and make it a really big event, you know, have like, you know, use a separate stage area for the other things I spoke about with the mini stages, you know, and just like maybe fill the gap left behind by Resonate. Not entirely, I mean, because it's a different show with a different vibe. But, yeah, I think within like another 3 to 5 years that Play Expo Glasgow could really be a major player in the scene, and maybe it might even inspire a couple of other conventions, which could be cool. I mean, other conventions to go to. On that note, stay tuned to the channel because, right, later on next month, I have a press pass for Glasgow Anime and Gaming Con. So I'll be at that, trying to take in as much as the cool stuff for you. Now, there will be a little bit of anime content in the video, because it's an anime convention and video games convention, but I will mostly centre on the video games. But if you have any particular things you guys want me to look out for and video for the channel, let me know in that comment section down below. But rounding it out, good convention, look forward to the return, very keen to get a press pass for next year and report upon it, and hashtag support Scottish YouTubers, and of course, as always, aye, nae bother.